Ballinger and Representative Chilkington for being here today. I know we've had kind of running text and conversations about this, but two lines in the bill give me some heartburn, and I'll just ask you for clarification. Page 2, line 15, page 3, line 10, both of those areas deal with lawfully present in a location. Let me give you a what-if scenario. Let's say that I am carrying my Glock and I happen to see some activity that appears to be life-threatening to some citizens up in my district. Maybe it's a gun-free zone, or maybe it's a piece of property at a school. And the potential for a mass shooting to occur, it does happen from time to time. I remember, and you all will too, the West Side shooting years ago. The school teacher, Shannon Wright, my first cousin, was gunned down in that event, and it devastated the community. But if I just happen to be there to pick up maybe a niece or a nephew, but I've got my gun in a locked safe in my vehicle to pick up a child, and I see this happening, and I jump out of my truck to defend these children and these school teachers and maybe a bus driver, am I going to be, not only would I maybe be called a hero for saving lives, but would I also be considered a felon and a murderer because I was not lawfully present at the time? How do I protect, that notion that a hero could all of a sudden be convicted of a crime?
Thank you for asking that question, because that is part of the confusion that we've seen, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of address that. So the first thing to remember is we're not changing self-defense law in Arkansas. So we're just talking about the duty to retreat. And so the only time that this would come into question is whether or not you have a duty to retreat when you're lawfully present, right? So we all agree that this just says whether or not this is just about whether you have a duty to retreat. It doesn't change the underlying self-defense that, basically you got to force with force, with reasonable force. You look at the code, and it says you have a right to defend yourself or others if you are threatened. And the other language is the same thing: the person's outright to commit a felony, or they're threatening some other person, then you have a right to defend yourself or others. In that situation, you may very well be guilty of a crime if you carry a gun onto school property. But that's already in the code. In fact, that's federal law, state law. That has nothing to do with this bill. You may be guilty of a crime. However, what this bill would do is it would say if you are lawfully present, then you would have no duty to retreat. So if you actually have permit to carry a gun in whatever location, then you have zero duty to retreat. That honestly, whether this bill exists or not, it probably wouldn't really change the analysis at all, because you have an absolute right to protect other people. So if you're in a situation where you can use force, deadly force even, to protect another person, you have the absolute right to do that. And so if there is somebody who is if you become aware of a shooting and you have the ability, like a lot of people who carry firearms, when they hear shots, they want to go, they want to intervene, they want to help. They're not the kind of people who run away with stuff. Let's say that. So if you want to go intervene and you want to help, you would be allowed to do that. You would be empowered to do that. Not because of this bill, but this bill doesn't change it either way. That's under current law. This would just say that if you're in that place, you're not protecting other people, you're just protecting yourself, and you're there unlawfully. Now, it does say unlawfully in that location, so I think there's a good argument that even if you carried the gun on school property, that you would not, unless you're trespassing, unless somebody has told you to leave, or you're in some area that you're not allowed to do, it's really more about whether or not it's legal for you to be there or not whether or not you're carrying a firearm. But let's say the worst case scenario, they interpret it as you had a duty to retreat. Then the question is, you're basically said exactly what you are today. Is that if you're breaking the law, then you still have a right to self-defense. You just may have a duty to retreat if you can. And that may be the situation after this passes. That's exactly where you are today.
Follow up?
You're recognized for a follow-up.